Hey guys, welcome to Rena's Home Cooking. Today we're going to be making a chicken pot pie. I made one of these the other day for the first time in a while, and so I'm going to be making one of these for you today. And today we're going to start out with the crust for the chicken pot pie. So, alright, here we go. We're going to start out with 2 cups of flour. Bring this a little closer so you guys can see. There we go. Alright, we're going to come with 2 cups of flour, and then we've got a cup, which is 2 sticks of butter. And we're going to be making our pie crust with this. I've got a pastry cutter, and we're going to just punch that in and break up all that butter to make our pie crust. If you don't want to make a homemade pie crust, never fear. You can get a pre-made pie crust from the store. I would recommend the ones that are already rolled out though, so you can just fit it into whatever pie dish you are using. This recipe for a pie crust is for 2 pie crusts actually, and so we're going to separate these into 2 separate balls once we're done, and we're going to make the 2 pie crusts. So you just continue to break the butter up until it starts to turn into small pea-sized pieces in the butter. And you can actually also use shortening for this recipe. You can substitute a cup of shortening rather than a cup of butter. Okay, so I think that's doing pretty good. We've got some water here, and we're only going to do about 7 to 8 tablespoons. We really just want this to get wet. We don't want it to be a huge ball, but just about 7 tablespoons is good. We're going to do 6 and then go from there. You want your dough to kind of start to make a ball, but you don't really want a really wet ball of dough, if that makes sense. It's just going to start to pick up from the sides. You don't want, we're not making pancakes here. We're making pie dough. So when it starts to pick up from the sides and starts to make a pretty consistent ball of dough, that's when you're getting where you want to be. Probably just a little more and we should be there. you can see that you can mold it. But it's not real sticky. Now for a pie crust, I usually do use all-purpose flour. You know, in most of my recipes, I make the self-rising flour, but for this one, I do use the all-purpose because I don't want my pie crust to puff up. You know, I want it to be a good thin layer. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to roll out our dough. I have found, I've got a really small kitchen, which I mentioned to you guys before, and I have found that this is the best way for me to do, rinse my hand off real fast, I got pie dough on it. This is the best way for me to do my pie crust is to cover my stovetop with saran wrap to make me a working area, because I don't have a lot of counter space. And if you don't have a very small kitchen too, you know, this is something that you can do. You can just cover up your stovetop with saran wrap, and then that way you can just pick it all up when you're done and you've got a clean surface. So I'm going to get my all-purpose flour. I'm going to put a little on my working area. Okay, like I said, this is 2 pie crusts, so we're going to split this up into 2 balls of dough. And not just one. Because this is a top and a bottom. Okay. Work it just a little bit. And then I'm going to divide it. Okay. Put that one back in there. Okay. So now we've got our pie dough. Okay, we're going to put a little bit of flour on top. Get our handy dandy rolling pin. Put a little flour on it. And then you just start working your way out. Okay. You're going to go out and flip. Our pie crust. Okay. I've got a cast iron skillet that has Crisco. It's lined with Crisco. Just take a paper towel and rub the inside of it with Crisco. And then we're going to take our pie crust. You want to do it in fours. Turn it over. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? That's how you pick it up. And you're just going to put it to one side. Okay? And you're going to unfold it. Just like that. Okay? Press it down, because you're going to put filling all on the inside there. And while we get done, I'm going to work on, I'm actually making 2 of these. One for, well, I made one last time. My family said it wasn't enough. So, I'm going to work on making another skillet of this exactly the same way. And then I'll be right back with you. I wanted to make sure and show you guys this part. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just pull this up. I made a bit of a mess, but it's not too bad, all things considering, of how much flour I had on there. So that's really not that bad, but that's all you do, is you just scrape that up and put all that in the trash. But I think that's a pretty good way if you don't have any counter space like me and you just want to put this around right down and roll out your dough, and then you can just clean it up. It's not that bad. So there you go. I'll be right back with y'all. Okay guys, I wanted to show you how I do my chicken. I've washed my chicken, and now I'm going to clean it. I want to show you guys how to clean it when you get it from the store, and how I cut my chicken up, how I season it, and how I get it ready. So, when you get your chicken from the store, it usually has this part on the side here with all these veins, and also some gristle here on the side from the ribs. And I want to clean all that off of my chicken. So I just insert my knife and just put it right on the edge there. And just kind of pull out. And cut all that off. Let's see if I can move this a little closer so that you guys can see. Hang on just a second. Okay. Maybe you can see that. Okay, so this is the part I just cut off. And there's usually just a little bit of gristly side right over here. I'm just going to insert right there and pull that out there. And you can just cut that right off. Now if you look at this part right here of the chicken breast, this part right here, this is the chicken tender. Okay, so I'm going to cut the tender out. Okay, and then this bigger piece, I'm going to just butterfly and cut in a thinner piece. So I'm just going to insert my knife right in the middle and cut down and just kind of cut it in half, just like that. Okay. These make thinner pieces to where they're not so thick and take so long to cook. So I'm just going to do the same thing to this one. I'm going to cut this part off because this is all fat and veins. And you can see a little gristle right there. And I'm going to cut that out because I don't like that in my chicken. And I've got a trash can over there. I'm not just throwing it on the floor. It looks like I am, but I'm not. I'm going to get this off the side. And you just want to remove all that. This is, on this one, this is the tender. Right there. You can kind of see where the tender is. I'm just going to cut that out. butterfly this one. That one's got a little bit more fat right here, so I'm going to cut it off. You can see it. Okay. And I just stick my knife right in the middle and cut down. And then I'm going to cut it right in half. Okay. There's another piece. And the last piece. These are 3 good-sized breasts. And see, you can see all that gross stuff. I've washed this and it still didn't come off, so it's pretty nasty. So you're going to cut all that nasty off. All those veins. And then this one's pretty good on this side. It doesn't look too bad. So on this piece, this right there is the tender. Okay, same thing with this one. Do it right in the middle, cut down, and then butterfly. Okay, there you go. I'm going to lay all these pieces out. You can see that these pieces are much more uniform than they were before. That way they can cook more evenly, and we won't have one that's part of it that's this thick and part of it that's this thick. You know, it's all relatively the same size. So I'm going to wash my hands off real quick, and we're going to season our chicken. So y'all know me, I like Tony's. I like garlic salt and pepper. So that's what we're going to be putting on it today. Just do each piece with a good amount of each. Okay, and you're going to do with all 3. Alright, and Tony's. We're going to flip this over, do the other side. And season again. Okay. All right. Tony's. And pepper. Okay. My oven is set to 400. Let me unzoom this a little. Okay, let me pause it and I'll come right back. Okay, we've got our chicken seasoned. I've got my oven set to 400 degrees, and we're gonna cook this for 20 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna set my timer to 20. Alright, we're going to let that go, and I will do a temp check on that when it gets done. And while that's baking, we're going to get our filling ready. Be right back with y'all. We're going to start with the filling for the chicken pot pie. And what I'm going to be using is mixed vegetables, 2 cans drained, and 2 cans of cream mushroom soup. I'm going to start with my mixed vegetables, and you just dump that in there. And then 2 cans of the cream and mushroom. And then I'm going to use some chicken stock to thin. And I have got my saucepan on medium-high. And I'm not going to use a whole bunch of chicken stock. It's probably just about a half a cup. And we just want to thin that out a bit. And we're going to add our chicken to this to use as our filling for our pies. And I'm going to just add a little bit of seasoning to this. I'm still waiting on my chicken. It's still in the oven. It's got about 10 minutes left. I'm just getting this ready while it's in there, so I can just bump it into my my pies. Okay, so I've got my pepper in here, and I'm going to add, of course, a little bit of garlic salt. And I think I'm going to hold the Tonys. But I'm just going to do the pepper and the garlic salt. We're going to let this come to a bubble. Let me see if I can get in here just a little bit so you can see about the consistency. It's still thick, but I added just a little chicken stock to kind of thin it out a little bit. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to let that come to a bubble, and when I get my chicken out and cut it up, I will get that ready to show you guys. Got it out. It's reading 165. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut it up, and I'm going to add it to my filling for the pot pies. So I just cut it right down the middle here and just cut it in chunks. Okay, and you can use a cutting board. I've been using this sheet pan for 1,000 years, so I'm not worried about it getting messed up. It's been used so many times. The pie crust recipe. My mama, when I graduated from high school, she got me this the Betty Crocker Best Baking cookbook, and I have used it so many times, and that's where I got my recipe for the pie crust, and I also refer to it to a lot of the baking things. My son is about to graduate high school, so I am about to look for him a cookbook because he is not planning on living here at home with us. So I'm planning on trying to find him a cookbook to take with him to college. I do not want to give up my Best Baking cookbook. It's mine. And I use it so much. So it's got my favorite mac and cheese recipe, which my niece is asking if I am going to do that next. Are you going to do that next? Are you going to do that next? So I am going to try and do the mac and cheese next. That is next on the list. I thought I could do it tonight, but I realized I didn't have all my cheese. So, yet again, she's going to have to wait. But my next video I'm planning on doing is mac and cheese because my niece really wants that. But that's where I got my mac and cheese recipe. It's from that cookbook. And also my favorite chocolate chip cookie recipe is in that book. There's lots of good, just good, solid, kitchen tested recipes. They've all been, tried out before they wrote them in that book, and they are all very, very, very good. I still look in it to see, maybe we'll have that for dinner. Maybe we'll try this. There's stuff in there. I've had it 21 years now, and there's still things in there I haven't tried yet. So, one thing people that know me know about me is I love recipes. I love recipes. I'll read them. 3/4 of them I just read because I like to read them. I like to see what different ingredients people use. I like to know some of the history. Now, if it's one of those blog recipes online, I could care less. But if it's written down in a book, and it's got some history with it about where the recipe came from and the origin and that kind of thing, I am interested in that when it's in a book. But online, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's, we've got this, just give me the recipe mentality. I don't want to really know all about that. I just want to get the recipe and get to cooking. But I really love to read recipe books and find out about the heritage and where the recipe came from and what ingredients that person used and what is it specific to a certain culture, that kind of thing. So I really do like that. Alright, let me rinse my hands off real fast. Okay, so I'm going to add all of this to my pot back here. And I really want to get that liquid that came off the chicken too. So make sure and get all that good seasoning in your pot. Okay. Alright. Put that over here. Now, there we go. We'll just mix that together. And then we'll get ready to put it in our pie shells. Let me grab a ladle. Okay, so here is our pie shell. We've got it going over the sides here, and that's what you want. Just a little bit over the sides. This is, can't really see that. This is too much. So we're going to trim that off and then crimp. Okay, so just want to kind of trim this off the edges. So here's this, and I'm going to stick my finger right there and just crimp around it and make our little divots around the edge of the pie shell. If it doesn't look like it came out of a magazine, it is perfectly fine. Okay? It doesn't have to be just so. Alright? And you could actually just, instead of trimming that off, you could fold it under if you wanted to. Like I still got a little bit here. I'm going to fold that under. Tell from the way this is working that this is going to be flaky, which is good. We like flaky pie shells. If you're not used to working with cast iron, don't be intimidated. It's easier than it seems. If you can get a good set of already seasoned pie shells, cast iron skillets, that's the way to go. But if you don't have a pair seasoned, never fear. It's not hard. You want to do it with, you want to season your skillets with a really high smoking point oil, like peanut oil, and I've kind of discussed this a little bit before. Peanut oil is has a very high smoking point. Canola oil has a higher one. It's not real high, but actually avocado oil has a very high smoking point. And you want to use one that's got a very high smoking point. It does not have to be leathered on. You don't want it dripping. I've seen a lot of people that say turn it upside down and put a cookie sheet under it in case it drips. Well, really that's too much. You just really want to kind of, when you season cast iron, you just want to kind of give it a good rub, kind of like the shortening idea. Do a good rub. But you don't want to use shortening. I say that because it's got a very low smoking point. But you just want to kind of give it a good rub, and then put it in your oven, and you're gonna put it in there for about at a high temperature between 425 and 475, and you're gonna keep it in there for about 20 minutes on upright, and then you're gonna put it 20 minutes on the other side. Now it's going to be very, very hot when you flip it on the other side. So, make sure that you've got a very good pot holder when you flip it. And just to keep from having to flip it again, just turn your oven off that second time. Just turn your oven off and let it cool. That way you don't have to fool with it anymore. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to kind of make a mound in the middle here, and then we're going to put our top shell on. Okay, our top shell, again, whenever you're moving these things, do them in fours, right? So you're going to unfold just like you folded. Okay, I'm going to try to move this just a little bit this way. I can't. Okay, we're going to fold over. And if it breaks a little bit, it is okay. This is for you and your family. As long as it tastes good. That's what we're worried about. we're not so worried about the looks of it. Okay. Fold that over. Okay. We're going to do our crimp again. You would crimp where you would usually crimp, but my dough has gotten kind of warm, and so it's just kind of wanting to not cooperate, but that's okay. It's still going to taste good. You want to try to keep your dough cold as much as possible, because it will cooperate with you better. There's lots of different opinions about cast iron cooking, and you can do your research and decide, you know, which method is best. But let me tell you, food just tastes better. It just does, because that cast iron has already been seasoned, and you cook your food in it, and you just lightly clean it. Sometimes, I mean, you can use a little bit of dish soap when you clean your cast iron. It won't hurt it. A lot of people say to completely strip it. You don't want to use a whole bunch, but you can use a little bit, just enough to get the, you know, nasties out. But the best way is to use a wool scrubby, you know, the metal scrubbies, and you can just scrub like that. Or I've heard of using salt, putting salt in the bottom and scrubbing with salt, and then just wash them with water, and then heating it up before you use it again, you know, that kind of thing. I've heard a lot of different ways to do it, but I tend to do the steel wool and a dish soap method, and mine always turn out really good. So, okay, we're just going to do a slit here. Okay, and that's that. And then I'm going to put this in the oven. My oven's at 425, and I'm going to put this in the oven for 35 minutes. Alrighty. When this gets done, I will get back with you guys, and I will show you how it turned out. It's been 35 minutes. The oven has been at 425, and this is our finished product. It looks pretty good, right? I know that my husband, he's ready to eat. He smelled this cooking this whole time, and he's ready to eat. So, let me do a thumbnail, and I'm letting this video, but it's been great talking to you guys and being with you guys tonight, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me do a thumbnail. Alright, you guys, that's it. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching Rena's Home Cooking. Hey guys, I forgot to tell you one thing. When I was making my crust, the ingredients were 2 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, a cup of butter, and a teaspoon of salt. I think I forgot to tell you the salt part. But anyway, this is my bowl of pot pie. So this is what it looks like in the bowl. But it is very good. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. Thanks, y'all.